Good afternoon, and welcome to our webinar. We're going to be talking about lifestyle. What is it like to live at one of our Goodwin House communities? We know that this is a question on a lot of people's minds, and so that's our goal today, is to get that information to you. Before we do, we have a few housekeeping items that we'd like to go over. So you are going to be seeing presenters on your screen and some other members of the Goodwin House team. I imagine many of you have been having Zoom calls with family and friends, and this is a bit like that, in that the team members are not in the same place. We're all in different places, and that's why we're not wearing masks. And it also can present some challenges with technology, and I suspect that you may have experienced some technology challenges in your Zoom calls if you're having those. So we're hoping for the best, and if we have any little snags, we hope that you'll be patient with us. We are going to have time for questions and answers toward the end of the webinar. And so if you would like to submit a question, this screen gives you an idea of how to do that. You use the control panel on your GoToWebinar platform. That control panel should be way over on the far right-hand side of your screen. And on that panel, you want to look for this question mark. If you click on that question mark, then the question pane will open up, and you can type your question right in there and click send, and those questions will come right to us. You can do that at any time during the webinar. And then toward the end, we'll be collecting those questions and answering those we can in the time that we have allotted. So as I mentioned, what we'd like to accomplish today is to answer the question that you may be asking, which is, will my life be better by moving to a Goodwin House Life Plan community? And during this time, during one webinar, it's impossible really for us to share all that happens in these communities, all the activities, all the programs, all the groups, all the meetings that take place within our walls, on our grounds, and in the outside community. So what we've done is we've just selected a sample of the activities that we think that you might be interested in that would give you a clearer idea of the Goodwin House lifestyle. Our mission is to uplift the lives of older adults and the people who serve them. To do this in the Life Plan communities, we have a continuing focus on wellness, and you're going to be hearing a lot about that today. Our holistic approach, as you will see and hear, allows us to uplift the lives of our residents regardless of their personal interests. Of course, the activities, the programming, the groups, the meetings available to residents have changed since COVID-19 became a part of our lives. Lindsay, our Chief Strategy and Marketing Officer for Goodwin House Incorporated, will share with you what we have done and what we plan to do in order to continue to keep our residents and our staff safe from the pandemic. So what I'd like to do next is introduce you to the members of our team. And one by one, you will see that their cameras will be turned on and they will be joining us on the screen. And as I mentioned, technology might take a minute for all of them to join us in this virtual stage. And while we're waiting for them to all join us, I'm going to begin those introductions. There's their smiling faces. This is the Goodwin House sales team, a group that works very closely together to support potential residents as they consider moving to Goodwin House and walking them through the process. As sales counselors, Janine Wood, there she is, Daniel Bauman, the only fellow we have in the group, and Darlene Lamer, there's Darlene, work closely with potential residents to learn about their personal goals and share the attributes of Goodwin House Alexandria and Goodwin House Bailey's Crossroads that best meet those goals. Their knowledge about programming, amenities, floor plans, and contracts helps people like you to learn if the communities are right for you. Mary Jo Cadgen, wave, Mary Jo, there she is the move-in coordinator at Goodwin House Bailey's Crossroads. She works very closely with every new resident to plan and execute their move to their new Goodwin House home. She supervises renovations, including assisting with the selections of new finishes like cabinets and countertops and flooring. She tries to make sure that the moving process is as stress-free as possible. Lachey Johnson, there's Lachey, is the move-in coordinator at Goodwin House Alexandria. Just like Mary Jo, Lachey ushers new residents through the moving process and gets them comfortably settled in their new homes at Goodwin House. She also works very closely with the resident and resident committees who are responsible for making residents feel welcome in their new homes. As the sales and marketing coordinator, Dora Twinaboa, there's Dora. Dora's friendly voice is often the first one heard by potential residents when they call Goodwin House to learn more information. One of Dora's other responsibilities is to welcome our new Priority Club members and assist them in taking advantage of the many benefits that are offered to Priority Club members, such as taking advantage of our dining venues and our fitness centers. Okay, team, great to see you. We'll say goodbye to you for now. And Dora's going to be turning off their webcams, and some of them will be joining us a little later in our broadcast of this webinar. It is my privilege to introduce to you now Lindsay Hutter, our Chief Strategy and Marketing Officer. Lindsay's going to tell you a little bit more about Goodwin House's other business segments and about our comprehensive plan to keep our residents and staff safe during the COVID-19 pandemic. Lindsay?
Thank you, Sue. Pleasure to be with you today. And I'm really excited to have this time to share with you just a quick update on Goodwin House at Home. And the next few slides are going to give you an update on, Goodwin House Incorporated, where we are as an organization. And then I'm going to talk about safe living in the Goodwin House communities. Now, for many of you in the audience, you may have some awareness for Goodwin House Incorporated, sort of the overall Goodwin House entity. Others of you may be new to our organization. So I want to help you think about Goodwin House as really two senior living, older adult organizations that really align. And our history is in senior living, which is all about where older adults live. But we've also grown a lot of healthcare services, particularly in the last several years. And that's sort of how we live as older adults. As you look at this first slide, if we can revert back to that first slide, which is little technology gap, there we go. Okay, so you see Goodwin House options for you, where you live. Goodwin House can help you age in place and home as long as you want. If you make a decision that, gosh, I'd rather spend the rest of my years in my home, we can help you with that. And that's what the service we have called Goodwin House at Home. It's a very innovative service. It's one of just several dozen in the country that we launched in 2014. And Goodwin House at Home brings around a life care type of contract to help you financially plan for your future needs, all while you're aging in place. For those of you who may say, gosh, I think I do want to live in a community, we have Goodwin House Alexandria and Goodwin House Bailey's Crossroads. Now, some of you may wonder, well, gosh, if people started off as a Goodwin House at Home member and then made a decision to potentially move into a senior living community? Absolutely they have. And their Goodwin House at Home membership can convey, particularly if they move into a Goodwin House senior living community. So you see, we have two great options for you wherever you want to live. Now let me focus on the next topic, which is how you live. And you're going to see in this next slide 3 different types of healthcare services and home care services we offer older adults. The first one is Goodwin House Home Care. And this is private duty home care, where currently it's focused on residents in our 2 life plan communities. For any older adults that might need a little bit more assistance with their activities of daily living, we have this service available to them. We also have, and this is the middle circle you're seeing, Goodwin House Home Health. Now, have any of you ever had surgery? Maybe you've had some type of orthopedic surgery and you needed therapy services to help in your recovery, Goodwin House Home Health provides these therapy services for any number of conditions. And we come into your home, whether your home is literally across Northern Virginia or in one of our life plan communities or in other life plan communities, and we help with the therapy. And then finally, we have Goodwin House Palliative Care and Hospice. Like Goodwin House Home Health, this service supports older adults all across the Northern Virginia region. So again, think of Goodwin House as a senior living and healthcare services organization that through some of our services, such as Goodwin House Home Health, we could be helping you today as you recover from surgery or need any particular therapy to help you with some condition. So with that, let me now transition to safety. This topic is safe living, and it's really about the Goodwin House standard. I think for everybody in society, we have a heightened awareness of safety and protection with the pandemic that's underway. What I want to share with you is that safety has long been a core value for Goodwin House. So as we transition to the next slide, I'm just going to briefly talk about 4 elements of safety in our life plan communities. And let me talk about the first one, infection precaution. That's been a hallmark for Goodwin House. We're rated 5-star by those organizations, CMS, that rate nursing homes. And a key part of that 5-star rating is our infection precaution efforts. So long before the pandemic, we were vigilant about infection precaution. And we have increased our investment in infection precaution. All the safety procedures that you've heard about, regular disinfecting in our communities, and just in the last few weeks, we have invested in a Solaris UV system. And what does that do? It's state-of-the-art technology that you can take into any room, and through UV technology, you completely disinfect, and unlike chemicals, you don't leave any residue. Let me talk for a minute about food safety. In the best of times, food is a source of comfort, and it's a source of wellness and social enjoyment. It becomes particularly important as a source of prevention and health in a pandemic. So we have dining services programs that are focused on the best nutrition and diet, catered to individuals' particular needs. So yes, indeed, you can live in a senior living community, and you have a registered dietitian on staff who can help you select your meals, what's right for you, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Physical safety, oh my goodness, a safe environment has many dimensions to it. Obviously, safe for all aspects of mobility. Then there's safe for extensive security systems we have in place, and that could be security around weather, power outages, any type of a situation which would put physical safety at risk. I also want to talk about financial safety. Yes, financial safety. Goodwin House Life Plan Communities, and Life Plan Community is actually a term, you've maybe heard the historical term for it, continuing care retirement community. These have a financial model which allows our residents to buy into the life care contract. And that inoculates themselves from unexpected or extreme high future care costs. In addition, the Goodwin House Foundation exists to ensure that no resident would ever be asked to leave because of a lack of financial resources. Now, that's a promise we've made since we opened in 1967, and it's a promise we've kept since then through our fellowship program, which is a confidential financial assistance fund. So you see, safety has been part of our core values since we first began serving older adults in 1967. Okay, fast forward to 2020, fast forward to a coronavirus. How does Goodwin House practice safety in the era of COVID-19? Let me tell you that we began our infection precaution efforts on March 2nd. At that time, we launched what we call the Infection Precaution and Planning Core Team. That team meets daily at 8:30 every morning. We've been meeting daily since March 2nd, and we essentially assess the situation. We receive information from the CDC, the Virginia Department of Health, our local health authorities, and we're constantly scanning our situation to make sure we're taking every step we can to protect our residents our staff members, and our Goodwin House at Home members. So that's a little bit about the absolute effort, full effort of our leadership, and it cascades through the entire organization. We began implementing our first infection precaution protocols around the coronavirus on March 4th. We have continued since then. In all, we have implemented nearly 150 infection precaution protocols for the safety of our residents, our staff, and our members. Now, you may be asking, has anyone at a Goodwin House community tested positive for COVID? At Goodwin House Alexandria, we have had no residents test positive for COVID. We have had a few dozen staff members test positive. And when that happens, they're immediately in a 14-day isolation at home. And then before they come back, there is a testing protocol before they can re-enter the workplace. I will tell you that of those that have tested positive, the vast majority, all but about 2, have been asymptomatic. At Goodwin House Bailey's Crossroads, we have had 7 residents test positive. Our hearts are heavy to share that 2 of them with comorbidities did pass away due to complications with COVID. We have had several dozen staff members that have tested positive for COVID, and the vast majority of those, again, have been asymptomatic. So we're thankful that we have had the infection precautions in place to protect our residents and our members, Goodwin House at Home, and staff members. A little bit about what are the daily practices. Well, you know about infection precaution, hand washing, sneezing, masks, social distancing. All these things are a part of our life. But also, as part of this, we've continued to have a number of activities. We've transitioned them online so our residents can continue to stay engaged. And finally, you might be asking, well, have you communicated? We've set up almost a virtual newsroom. We often communicate daily with our residents and our staff members on what the situation is, any updated guidance that we need to share with them. We also have a complete set of website pages that I'll show you in a few minutes. And we communicate a weekly summary every week to our residents and our staff members and the family and friends of our residents, so they know what's our situation with respect to COVID and what are the efforts that we've been undertaking. Now, you may say, okay, that's great. I'm hearing this from management, but what's it like to live in a Goodwin House community in the era of COVID? We think it would be best for you to hear from our residents. So in just a minute, I'm going to show you a video and you can hear from our residents. Before I show you that video though, I want to tell you a little bit about our Safe Path Forward. Safe Path Forward is the program that we put in place to guide us as an organization for how we will resume various amenities and activities on our campuses, what off-campus activity will be permissible for our residents, what quarantines or protocols will we have in place should someone travel and then come back to a community, and what are the ways in which we're allowing family members and friends to come and visit their loved ones in the community. So that's our Safe Path Forward. And by the way, that information is posted on our COVID pages at our website. So you'll have a chance to go view that and read all about that. Now, with that, I'm going to go back to what I said a minute ago. Great. We've heard from you, Lindsay, about what it's like to live in a Goodwin House community, but we don't think you live there. So why don't we hear from residents on what's been their experience? So my colleagues are going to call up a video with some resident testimonials, and you will get to hear from residents from both Goodwin House Alexandria and Goodwin House Bailey's Crossroads.
Frankly, I think, the record speaks for itself. We have had 0 infections here. And just today, we were told that the testing that all of the residents took here turned out negative.
I think the response has been very professional and rather conservative. I don't think they're taking any chances. And while that adds to a little isolation, it gives us security.
I was very impressed with how diligent they were and how quickly they moved to decide what should be done under certain circumstances ahead of time.
We have been consistently, regularly informed of the steps that the Goodwin House staff and board have been taking to protect us and to protect the whole community. And it's been a very positive experience.
It's been an incredible organization. I truly don't have words because I'm in awe of the organization, for the entire staff and their concerns for all residents in a very caring, loving manner. And I find that to be incredible, and I feel very safe here and very pleased that we are here during this pandemic.
So that gives you a sense as to the voice of our residents and what life has been like for them during the pandemic in Goodwin House Alexandria and Goodwin House Bailey's Crossroads. I want to share one more thought, and that is that Goodwin House thinks of itself, and we are indeed a family. We are not residents and staff, we're a family. We care for each other. Any of you that have been in the workplace, you realize that we actually spend more of our awakened hours at work. And so as part of this family and being a staff member for all of us, it is our mission to support, honor, and uplift the lives of those older adults that we serve. And you can palpably feel this sense of family come out in some comments that residents asked us if they could make to you, the viewing audience, to let them know how they feel about the staff that serve them. And so we're going to pull up a video, and as you look at the mask, that's our way of saying that real heroes wear a mask during a pandemic. And we're delighted that our residents are so grateful to our staff. So enjoy this second resident video.
I think we have an outstanding staff, and I really appreciate their professionalism, the contact that they have with people. It's like a large family.
They're very spirited, and they're very quick to learn new things, and they have been fabulous, just fabulous.
You guys are terrific. You're essential, and you know it, and you treated us with grace, compassion, and kindness, smiling. And you know what? A lot of times, you know, I've been around, people smile, and you can tell the difference between I got a smile or I'm smiling. And the people here are smiling.
The organization has been beyond words, and just to say thank you doesn't seem to be enough. They have just been superb. Every morning when I receive my breakfast, knock on the door, and they're there, and it's good morning, how was your night? You know, I find that to be wonderful, and it's a nice way to start our day.
Just thank you for everything. They've really been great. I don't know how we would get on without them.
So I hope you enjoyed that message of thanks from the residents and kind of a sense of their relationship with staff. You notice there was a slide that slipped in there, and it had the Goodwin House logo, and then it had the Washington Post Top Workplace 2020 logo. I think that's very important to call out for you, because when you think about moving into a senior living organization, you're moving into a community of residents and a community of staff. And you want to know that they're both going to be welcoming, and particularly the staff is going to be capable. And so we found out on Sunday, it was published in the Washington Post, that for the second year in a row, Goodwin House is a top 200 Washington, D.C. workplace. So think about that as you're exploring different senior living communities. Now, I did reference that our website is chock full of our updates on COVID, our protocols, a lot of guides on how older adults can stay active even in their homes and safe. I welcome you to go to our website. When you get to that homepage, which is goodwinhouse.org, you'll see a little hello bar pop down. It will say click here for our COVID pages. You do that, it'll take you right to our COVID pages. And this is what the landing page looks like, what you're seeing on your screen right now. So thank you for the opportunity to share with you safe living at Goodwin House. And it's my pleasure to hand the virtual microphone back to Sue for enriched living.
That's great. Thanks, Lindsay. I am going to stay off of my camera for a little bit, just so you have an opportunity to view these slides without interruption or distraction. So I'm going to be talking about the 4 dimensions of wellness and how they are woven into the lives of our residents here at Goodwin House. We set the bar pretty high for this. We are providing 4 dimensions of wellness are the foundation of what we do in terms of our programming. Many of the groups, activities, the presentations, the activities that go on within the communities are planned and executed by the staff. That said, many of the activities and presentations are planned and executed by the residents, and they've taken that initiative to do that. Some of their programs have been very long running, and others have evolved very recently due to the changes that we've all endured during the pandemic. Our interest in the elements of wellness comes from many research studies that have been focused on successful aging. The most well-known research was a study that was done by the MacArthur Foundation, which studied a large group of seniors over a period of about 10 years. And those seniors were followed because the researchers were looking for elements that led not just to living longer, but to living better. And during that process, they actually did some myth busting. There were a lot of myths that had been associated with the aging process. And the biggest myth of all that they busted was this one. Oops, sorry. The key to aging well is choosing your parents wisely. And you know, for a long time, that's what we thought. We thought it was all in the genetics. But as it turns out, what the MacArthur group discovered was that 70% of physical aging, 70% of physical aging, and 50% of mental aging is determined not by your genetics, but by your lifestyle choices, the choices that you make every day. So if we think back on the original question posed earlier in this webinar, will my life be improved by moving to a Goodwin House Life Plan community? The answer is really, that's up to you. The positive changes that are connected to the elements of wellness are present and available for all those who live in the Goodwin House communities and choose to take advantage of them. So let's talk about those elements of wellness. The opportunities to improve physical wellness are nearly endless. The fitness rooms, the pools, the gardens, the walking paths, and even the interior hallways on rainy days are used to promote fitness. A quick look at the calendar in each of the communities in the resident newsletter shows 26 fitness classes that are available each week, varying from yoga to water aerobics to line dancing and everything in between. The fitness team that supports all of those activities moved very quickly to live streaming these classes on the internal Goodwin House television stations when our infection precaution procedures began. In fact, new classes have even been born out of the pandemic, including a circuit training class on the walkways around our 2 communities. These slides were taken from the guide for residents, showing them the exercises that they can do on the walking paths, shows them pictures of the various stopping places along those paths, and gives them specific instructions about the exercises that they can do. And while on those paths, it's very hard to miss the gardens, the beautiful gardens, the gardens and the garden boxes that are tended by the residents. As you know, gardening burns calories and builds muscle, with the added benefit of fresh flowers, fresh herbs, and fresh vegetables. Despite the pandemic, the gardening at a safe distance continues at both communities. At the MacArthur Foundation study proved what we all already knew, which was keeping our brains fit and active is also very important. Card games and other games, mahjong, poker, croquet, are all actively participated in by our residents here at the communities, and they do keep minds active. If art is your passion, rather than playing bridge, for example, that's okay. We've got you covered. The art studios in the communities offer classes on all forms of painting, ceramics, paper mache, greeting card making, just about anything that you can think of. The Art Center at Goodwin House Bailey's Crossroads is so active that it requires a full page in the weekly newsletter in order to list all the activities that go on in 1 week. Last week, for example, featured 2 art history lectures and 4 art classes, including flower arranging. Classes have continued during the pandemic in groups of fewer than 10 who are socially distanced. Additionally, new classes have been created and offered via Zoom. The art gallery at Goodwin House Bailey's Crossroads features a rotating exhibit of resident art. The upcoming exhibit is entitled The Art of Joy. And I think this title is representative of the attitudes of everyone here, the residents and the staff during the pandemic. Everyone is finding their joy in different ways. I have another resident video to show you of resident Margaret Kelly talking about during this time of pandemic, what is it that has uplifted her spirits?
Well, we have a lot of activities here all the time. And many of those activities are still ongoing. I mean, the gardeners are gardening out there. That's why we had such a beautiful garden this spring. The artists are painting. They're not all painting, 15 or 20 at a time. They're painting perhaps 5 or 6 at a time, or up to 10 at a time. Our new art coordinator is conducting classes. The exercise group is going on. People are exercising. We have a lot of space to walk around here. So you can get out and walk every day for as long as you like. There are good grounds to walk on. And I have projects that I work on in my own apartment that I haven't had time to work on before with all the meetings and so forth. So I'm quite frankly fully occupied. I mean, there is this feeling we're inside and we can't do certain things. And I try not to let that overwhelm me and go ahead with the things that I like to do anyway.
So thank you, Margaret Kelly, for telling us about how you uplifted your spirits during this time. So we've talked about art, we've talked about physical wellness. We also want to talk about music, because music has been a big part of Goodwin House before and during the pandemic. Our residents have participated in coffee concerts at the Kennedy Center, and they've been regularly attending those up until the COVID-19, but they will again when they resume. Resident Jim Bradley has been playing his tuba weekly on his balcony for neighbors' enjoyment. He usually begins his concert with the Marine Corps hymn for all of his fellow residents who are Marines, and he concludes his concerts usually with Anchors Away, and that's for himself because he was in the Navy. A trio of Alexandria Symphony Orchestra musicians has visited Goodwin House, Alexandria twice since the pandemic began, performing in the outdoor courtyard for the enjoyment of socially distanced residents. And we have a really nice video of that concert, a very short video, a short concert, but to be honest, I'm a little hesitant to play it for you. So I'm just going to describe that scene for you. And the scene is residents sitting in our large interior courtyard, all socially distanced, wearing their masks, and listening to a beautiful brass trio play. And the great thing about the video and the concert is that at the very end of the video, when the trio concludes their performance, the residents stand, they give them a standing ovation, and all you can hear is bravo, bravo. And it's really, really heartwarming. It was a wonderful thing to see. So I'm going to skip that. Whoops. So intellectual and cultural wellness is the fourth of those wellness elements that we wanted to talk about. And it's a big part of life here at Goodwin House. We have a number of lectures and classes that our residents not only love to attend, but they thrive on. They seek to learn all the time. And again, all of these things are listed in our newsletters, on our calendars. Residents need only look to see what they would like to attend this week. In fact, I've heard a resident say, there's just too much, I just can't decide. A quick look at that calendar recently revealed 3 speakers who were very diverse. They spoke on the history of the World's Fair, the history of Radio City Music Hall, and the leadership of George Washington. Everything that we've covered so far as examples of physical and intellectual wellness also contribute to social wellness. Everything that I've described is often done in groups. I had a resident tell me that the reason that she loves the fitness classes so much is because it's given her an opportunity to meet new friends. I've also had a resident tell me that the favorite part of their day is meeting new residents in one of our dining venues and getting to know them a little bit better. For social wellness is very, very important. We now know that there is a clear link between loneliness and a decline in both physical and emotional health. The statistics are actually shocking. For example, according to the University of California, San Francisco, lonely individuals have a 64% increased chance of developing clinical dementia. As it turns out, we need each other. And I think it's safe to say that a stay-at-home order really has brought this issue to light. You heard Lindsay give details on the infection precaution procedures that have been implemented in our communities. There have been many changes, but what hasn't changed is that residents still have each other. They can still see each other and talk to each other when casually walking down the hallways and when participating in any of the many groups that are still meeting, whether in small groups or via Zoom. Before COVID, spiritual wellness was carried out through services in the chapels that honor many traditions, resident committees that aim to improve the lives of others, and small group meetings, including a meditation group. Goodwin House is one of only 7 retirement communities that serves as a clinical pastoral education training site. For more than 20 years, the CPE program has hosted hundreds of interns who were Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Buddhist, and more. Residents have had an opportunity to learn about these varied traditions from these interns. We hope that we have given you an idea of how the elements of wellness are enjoyed and embraced by Goodwin House residents every day. We're providing this daily log as a tool for you so that you can start to track how you're keeping yourself well each week. We hope you'll take advantage of it. We are going to be sending it to you. We'll be sending you this entire PowerPoint in a follow-up email that you should be receiving in a few days. We're going to turn some of our webcams back on so that you can see our sales counselors again. Takes a minute again for us to bring them back to our stage. In the meantime, I want to tell you that we'd love to hear from you. If you would like to learn more about the Goodwin House lifestyle, our apartment styles, our contracts, our financial plans, I hope that you will call or email us in order to make a personal appointment. That is the best way to learn, really learn about Goodwin House and whether this community is the right fit for you. One of our sales counselors will be happy to explain the benefits of our Priority Club, which is the pathway to becoming a resident of Goodwin House. And by the way, we are conducting tours even during this pandemic. It's just that we're doing it in a slightly different way. We're doing it virtually. So we use our phones while you might use your phone, your tablet, your laptop, and we walk through the community and show you all the things that you want to see. So we are still providing personalized tours, and maybe that's something that you'd like to take advantage of. We are going to have some questions and answers. We do have some time for that. If you haven't entered a question yet, now's the time.
Well, Sue, they've wasted no time and we already have some questions in. So let me read the first one, and it's directed to me. When will you be able to resume activities in the communities? Well, the good news is we never stopped activities in the communities. So let me give you an example. Our fitness centers remained open. We did have equipment. Every other piece was marked off, not for use, so we'd have social distancing. We had our environmental services team coming in and engaging on a regular basis on infection precaution cleaning in the fitness centers. And we had residents learn how to disinfect equipment properly after they had used it. We also had group walks, group activities around our campuses. We have gardens in our campuses, we have pathways, we have courtyards. So when the weather was nice, we were able to take advantage of that. You heard Sue describe a number of the activities that have continued. Some of them have been resident initiated. And I think that goes to show the vitality of resident life in Goodwin House communities. It's not just having it done for them, but they're actually bringing forward ideas. And I'll tell you, one of the biggest ideas was just a week ago at Goodwin House Bailey's Crossroads. A group of residents championed the idea of a moment of silence, actually 8 minutes and 46 seconds of silence in memory of George Floyd and in memory of the desire and the cause to end racism. And everyone was socially distanced across the Goodwin House Bailey's Crossroads campus, parking lot, and we had actually a musical team come in and perform a variety of different songs and hymns. So life has continued, and as I said earlier in the program, we have our Safe Path Forward plan, and that lays out our phases. Phase 1 of resuming more of our activities and amenities, phase 2, phase 3. There are a lot of people as we speak that are getting their hair done because our salons had closed and now they're open. The podiatrists are back on campus, so there are a number of things that are continuing to pick up in our communities. Okay, Sue, this one is for you. What is the Priority Club and what are the benefits that Sue mentioned?
Okay, I'm happy to address the Priority Club. I do want to just echo the loud applause that was heard in both communities when the hair salons opened. That was a big day. It was a big day for all. So the Priority Club. So what are the benefits? The Priority Club is it's our waiting list. You may have heard of waiting lists at other communities. And by joining the Priority Club, what that means is that you have the ability to get in line for the apartment of your choice. We have over 60 different floor plans available amongst the two communities, and we have a wait list for every one of those floor plans. So we urge people to join the Priority Club. While you're waiting for your apartment to become available, the floor plan of your choice, you can take advantage of dining in our dining venues when they reopen. You can also use our fitness centers and participate in our activities, the resident activities, if you'd like, which is a great way to get to know the community and what it's like to live here. I'd also like to say that during this time of COVID, when our Priority Club members couldn't dine in our dining venues or participate in any of our activities or the fitness centers, we have been staying in very close contact with them. We've had webinars that are specifically for them, exclusively for them, explaining to them all that we're doing to keep our residents and our staff safe. And we've been communicating with them at least weekly. So they've been hearing from us regularly. Those newsletters that Lindsay told you about that are for the friends and family of our residents, well, we consider our Priority Club members friends and family. And so they've been receiving those newsletters as well. I know many of you who are probably listening right now are Priority Club members, and I hope you're nodding your heads right now. I hope that you have felt that you have received so much communication from us that you're well aware of what's happening in the communities right now. Lindsay, are there any others?
Sue, I would add on the Priority Club that the webinars that Sue mentioned, we've had several for Priority Club members. Some have been focused exclusively on how to stay safe amidst the pandemic at home. And we featured one of our 2 medical directors, Dr. Margaret Gloria, who fielded dozens and dozens of questions from Priority Club members who wanted to know, could they go get groceries safely? What about having family members come over? So if you're interested in hearing those and seeing those webinars, just send an email to Dora Chenaboa. We'll get that information to you, and she can send the recordings. We also did one on taming the bear. We had 2 financial advisors present on how to navigate what's been certainly an uncertain and turbulent financial market. So a lot of resources for Priority Club members, and we're so glad to share those with you. Sue, the next question kind of follows in the Priority Club. How could someone get a tour of one of the 2 communities?
Oh, well, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, we are conducting tours. They're a little different from what we used to do, but we are conducting tours. So how can someone get one? Simply ask. That's all you need to do. Email us or call us, and we'll have that information on the screen in a moment. And make a personal appointment with one of our sales counselors. The first thing that they'll do is talk to you and get to know what you're interested in. What are the activities that you're interested in? Are you interested in the pool? Do you want to see the fitness center, the dining venues, the art studio? What's important to you to see? And then they'll design that virtual tour for you. The great thing about it is that it's live. So they're walking with their phones. You're on your PC or your tablet, following along with them, seeing the residents in the hallway, seeing the staff, everybody's smiling and waving. And it turns out to be kind of a fun way to tour the community, and the people who've done it have really enjoyed it. So that's how you would tour the community, and we can show you a little bit at a time. We can show you the community spaces the first time, and then if you'd like to set up another appointment, we can show you the interiors of some of the apartments, which you had the benefit of seeing the photos of those while you're waiting for the webinar to begin.
Thank you, Sue. The next one is directed at me. And the question is, what is Goodwin House's financial situation prior to the pandemic and as you're navigating the current pandemic? So a couple of things. We are a not-for-profit senior living organization, and we have a governing board of trustees that is the oversight of the governance, the financial affairs of the organization. And we go to the capital markets for expansion. And we just recently developed a state-of-the-art healthcare center on our Goodwin House Alexandria campus that opened 3 years ago in 2017. We go to the investment markets that are known as private activity bond markets. So we, in fact, do have investors in the organization. They're not owners, but they're investors. And I'm going to give you sort of 3 answers now to the question. The first is, are we financially stable? Do we have adequate reserves? Goodwin House is extremely financially stable. You heard Wayne Kelly use the word conservative in our approach to the infection precaution efforts around the coronavirus. You would also hear people say Goodwin House is conservative relative to our financial situation. We maintain a very high cash on hand, days cash on hand that we could operate if no new revenue came into the organization. And we do operate with a margin favorable budget. We go into the cycle, each budget cycle, margin favorable. I next want to talk about the actuarial piece of this. And we are reviewed annually for Goodwin House Life Plan Communities and Goodwin House at Home from one of the top 2 actuarial firms in the field of senior living, A.V. Powell. If you're curious, that's the letter A, V. Powell. And our board level finance committee just received its annual actuarial report and assessment from A.V. Powell, and Goodwin House Life Plan Communities were both found to be well within the, if you will, the comfort zone, a little bit above the comfort zone actually, for actuarial standards. The third piece of this is our investors. And we are reviewed every year by our investors, our CEO, and particularly our CFO, Richard Carter, and myself as the Chief Strategy and Marketing Officer. Spend a long time on a conference call with our investors, and we are quizzed on our current performance. We are also asked about our future performance. We just had our call with our investors 3 weeks ago, and I can tell you they continue to affirm the good health and status of Goodwin House from a financial perspective. One last thing, there are many measures that senior living organizations are required to have. The federal government regulates our nursing homes, and they give us a rating that's required. We receive the highest rating at both of our 2 campuses, a 5-star. There are some ratings that Goodwin House chooses to pursue on its own. And one of those is through Fitch, which is an investment rating company. There are 3 of them in the US. And Goodwin House for 1 decade was triple B, which is one of the highest. And 2 years ago, we were raised to BBB+. So you see a steady, conservative, strong financial situation for Goodwin House, and extraordinary due diligence in terms of our actuarial numbers, which are the basis for our financial current, our financial present, and our financial future. Sue, next question is for you. How long is the wait list or the priority club list for an apartment?
That is a question that we get all the time. Thank you, Lindsay. I'm happy to take that one. And I do want to just give you a heads up, Lindsay, in terms of our time. So this should be our last question. And to those of you out there in webinar land, if we did not get to your question, we will answer it in writing and send that to you in a follow-up email. So how long is the waiting list? Well, it depends. It depends on what style apartment that you're waiting for. Whether it's a 1-bedroom, a 1-bedroom with den, a 2-bedroom, a 2-bedroom with den, it really depends. What we try to do is match your needs with the time frame to the best that we can. Of course, it's going to be a really long wait if you're not a Priority Club member. So the only way to have access to one of these lovely apartments that you saw earlier is to be a Priority Club member and talk to the sales counselor about what they think the wait might be for the style apartment that you might be interested in. Okay.
Will you let me sneak one more question in if I promise a brief answer?
If you promise a brief answer, Lindsay, sure.
I'm not usually complimented with my brevity, but the question is, who's being tested for COVID and how frequently? Goodwin House was a senior living community that very early on has chosen to sort of be ahead of being told what we need to do by the CDC, local health departments, or the Virginia Department of Health. We made a decision as an organization way back in early May that we were going to begin testing all of our residents and all of our staff members. We wanted a baseline. So we have tested everyone in the entire organization to get a baseline. And we're now on a cycle where we test our direct care partner staff. We have direct contact with residents weekly. All other staff are tested on a 3-week schedule. So I just wanted to share that. That's a proactive step that Goodwin House has chosen to take to ensure the safety of our residents and our staff. Thank you, Sue.
Okay, great. Thanks, Lindsay. So again, if you are interested in learning more, please attend one of our future webinars. Here's just a brief summary of some of them that we have planned for the future. You can register for any of these webinars on the events page of our website, goodwinhouse.org, and please go back to that events page regularly. to check on our upcoming events, because we're always changing and always planning new things. This is the contact information that I mentioned earlier. We do hope that you'll take the opportunity to call or email and set up a personal appointment with one of our talented sales counselors that will be happy to share all the information that you'd like to hear about Goodwin House. We're going to leave this information up for a few minutes in case you want to jot it down. And in the meantime, we all want to thank you very much for attending this webinar. We really appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.